and you go to online giving, you go to donate, and then you put in all the information you have, and then we're good to go. So it's rptworship.com, and I'm sure during the program, uh, Brother Campbell will, remind you because some of you have amnesia, convenient amnesia, and we want to see if we can save you from going to the doctor.
Okay.
So
I
please,
I did not write it down, Pastor. So I'm going to ask your co-host there if she
just
could
putting
from
it
time
up.
to time
Yeah,
put it up on the screen.
that's right
However,
then.
everything that we do, we always include God in our midst. And tonight and today is no different. And so when we look at Psalms 57 and verse 2, the psalmist says, I cry out to God most high. Nothing happens without God ordaining it. However, our choice and action matters. And so the last time that I was here, I shared with the group that as a 5 year old, I'm going to say baby or little boy coming home from school, I knelt in the middle of the road and I cried out to God. And God heard and he answered my prayer. And so when we look at 1 Corinthians 9, verses 24 through 27, it encourages us that self control is essential to our success. Again, self control is essential to our success. Doing things in moderation in all aspects of our lives, and in this case, our finances, both spending and saving, as it has an immediate impact on our economy. Proverbs 25, verse 28 tells us that without self control, we're what? We're like a city with no walls, free for all. And I'm going to tell you that I fell prey to this text here when I was younger and in college because every credit card, and there's one credit card right now that if you look in my wallet, you will not see because I had such bad experience with them, and it's Discover card. But each card that came, I remember then I would apply and I'll get it. But again, at some point, I wasn't able to make the payment. And as a result, then my credit rating was affected gravely in a very negative way. And so, again, if we have no self control, we're going to fall prey to these folks. James 4, verse 7 and 8 tells us to submit ourselves first to who? Help me. Now, again, guys, remember, this is a dialogue,
To
right?
God.
Feel free to ask questions because that's what this is going to be about. We're going to communicate. We're going to have an open dialogue. So just feel free to come in with your questions, right? But James tells us to submit ourselves first to who? I heard
God.
someone said it.
God.
Because by ourselves, what happens? We're no match for the devil, right? And it's the same thing with our finances if we don't submit ourselves to God. And so once we have done this as a family, as a family, I'm encouraging everyone to take the time, call your family together. Now, when I say family, I mean both the wife and the husband and your kids, because they need to learn to be financially responsible from a young age, right? To come together and have a detailed budget, plan a detailed budget, outline the responsibilities of which each person is going to play, because all of us plays role with the finances in the house, right? Some spends more, some brings in more. However, we have a role that we play. And then understand your responsibilities and commitment. And once you have this budget, folks, oftentimes we live above our means, right? And this is where the commitment comes in, living within the budget that you have all agreed upon. From time to time, which is important, right? We set goals, whether it's a long-term goal, a short-term goal, a mid-range goal, but from time to time, you're going to be asked to go back and revisit these goals. And sometimes, you know what, you may need to make adjustments. It's okay. I'm also going to encourage you the first month that you have this budget, at the end of the month, then just go back and take a look and see how much and what you have spent and how much you have spent and what you have spent it on. And then ask yourselves, was this something that I needed? Was this something that I could have avoided? And I am having, oh no, my computer is shutting down here, so I'm going to need a few minutes here to start it back up.
No problem. No
okay,
problem.
so just bear with me a second, guys.
Okay.
So we're almost there.
Yes. Magnify your name. I know Franklin loves that. That's just why my heart is filled with praise. That's why my heart is filled with praise. I praise him. That's why my heart is filled with praise. That's why my heart is filled with praise. That's why my heart is filled with praise.
Amen. All right, we're back on track here, Pastor. Thank you so much. Now, how important is one's credit report? Right. Can someone tell me explain to me how important is your credit report?
Very important.
How so?
Because it can affect your buying in the future. It can affect people's level of trust in when it comes to what you invest in and stuff. People lending you money, banks lending you money. It can tie you up as well. So you can't free up your money to get the things that you want to get and invest in what you want to get because you're constantly paying off credit cards.
Excellent, my sister, and it's a pleasure seeing you. Thank you so much.
My daughter's coming soon.
Okay. Your credit report, as my sister mentioned, it's urgently of the most important for each person, because this credit report and your FICO score basically is the first thing that when your credit report is pulled, that someone looks at. Even before they look at your history, they're looking at your FICO score. And so if you have a FICO score that's between 620 to 649, that's considered to be fair. Anything below that is considered to be bad credit. If your FICO score is between 650 and 749, it's considered to be good. And then excellent is going to be 750 to 850, which is the highest that you can get. It's considered to be excellent. Now, someone comes to you or someone pulls your credit report and they look at your credit report and it's going to be brutally honest with you. If it's 620, you're going to be paying a lot of excess money compared to someone who has a FICO score of, let's say, 700. Because when brokers and they prey on people who has credit score that low, they come up with different things, excess items to charge you with. And I'm going to tell you something. When you're buying a house and you have a lawyer, you think that that lawyer is in your corner. I'm going to be honest with you. That lawyer, technically speaking, is not working for you. Even though you're the one paying the person, you call the person up and you said, hey, I want you to represent me in this process in buying a house. And the reason why I said that lawyers are working for you, they're working for the bank and the broker. If that property doesn't close, that deal doesn't go through, that lawyer makes no money. The broker, who is your liaison between you and the bank, and that's the person that's going to come to you and ask you for a lot of paperwork that you need, and they're going to give you advices. That person also, and that's why I asked you to get that notepad, that textbook, because we're going to go through an exercise where you're going to see at the end of that, the excess money that you're being charged and you don't even know it. So again, if you're not informed, if you're not educated when you enter into this process, you're going to either spend a lot of money or save yourselves a lot of money. Now, how do they come up with these scores of 620, 700, 850? How do they get that information to compile this score? This information is gathered by a couple of things. The length of time that you establish credit, meaning if you have a credit card for 1 year compared to someone who has a credit card for 10 years, there's a history. So this is what they look at when they look at your FICO score. And even if you have a score of 700, but you have a short history, then you're not considered to be good credit, because you don't have a history of making your payments and making it on time. You have to have that long history. Now, there's some folks out there who will tell you, and I will also tell you, that no credit is better than bad credit, because if you have no credit, then the bank will look at you and they'll take the risk, as opposed to someone who already has credit but established that they don't make their payments and on time. Some of the things that affects your credit score in a positive way: making your payments on time, keeping your existing debt low, And what I mean by that is, if you have a credit card, your balance, your spending power is $1,000, right? Your spending power is $1,000. If you used up, for example, let's say $800 or $900 or $950, and sometimes you even go over, then that's considered to be negative. Your creditors are going to look at you as not being responsible. What they're looking for is that you maintain your balance 50% or less. And the ideal balance that we should have on our credit cards is 10%. 10% is considered to be excellent, and your FICO score will go extremely high in a very short period of time. All right. Anyone has any questions so far? I know I saw someone wrote here that that's good information, but again, we haven't gotten to the root of the meat of the matter yet. Right? Any questions so far?
Yeah,
Yes.
I have a question. Ladies before gentlemen.
Okay, no, I didn't have a question. Good night, everyone. I just wanted you to repeat that information again. I kind of missed some of it.
Okay, Rochelle. And welcome. Your credit score has an important or plays an important role in your credit, in building credit. When a creditor looks at you, for example, when you're buying a car, when you're looking to buy a house, they're using it now for when you apply for a job, or even when you are applying to rent an apartment. Landlords, and I'm one of them, are looking at your credit to see whether you're a responsible person in paying back your bills, right? Now, for example, if you have a credit card and the limit is $1,000, the ideal would be not to spend higher than 10% of that credit card. If you spend up to 50%, you want to be at 49%, and that would consider to be ideal. But the moment that you go above that 50%, for example, let's say 51%, then now you start falling into the category of being someone who is at risk. So if you have it at 10%, or you haven't spent more than 10%, then you're considered to be in that park where creditors would love you. Now, there's some of us who have a credit card and we say, you know what? I have a credit card, it's in my wallet. I don't want to use it. That's considered to be a negative. When you actually pay off your credit card and you do not use it, because then guess what you're not doing? You're not establishing a history of payments. And that's where your score gets compiled. That's where creditors look to you to say you're a responsible person because you're making your payments and making them on time. Right? So don't just have a card in your wallet and say you're just going to keep it there and don't use it. Use it, but don't abuse it. And then each month, pay it back, right? Now, I'm going to share one more point here on this, and then I'm going to ask, as I think somebody else had a question.
Yeah, I have a question.
Right? You know what? Go ahead and ask the question.
All right, the question I have is not a question. You just said something a while ago, but I was distracted a little. Pertaining to good credit and our established credit, who the bank would consider to give a loan to. I kind of missed that part about. I think you said when your credit is not so good.
Okay.
Are your credit established?
Understood. There's no credit is better than having bad credit, because if you have no credit, then the bank looks at you in a more positive way than someone who has bad credit, because you already established that you're not responsible. They will more to take risk at you being that you don't have any credit. Right? Okay. That's understood?
Got you, sir. Got you. Sure, got you.
Okay. Anyone has a question?
Yes. So you're talking, is there a difference between business credit and individual credit in terms of the FICO score?
Okay. And thanks for asking that question. And I'm glad you asked that question. In order for you to open up a business, you first have to establish your personal credit. And even when you have a business, because you're not a big Fortune 500 company, and even before that business becomes a big Fortune 500 credit, the banks has to have someone's personal information, and that's why you have the board of trustee or the board of committee, where individuals would then volunteer, whether it's the president or shareholders. They have to decide who is going to give their personal information to the banks, because as a business by itself, years ago, a business would be able to get a credit card. Now they have eliminated that. It has to be based on an individual. So you as a person, when you're opening a business, you establish yourself as the president, the CEO, whatever you call yourself. And you now establish this business and you go to the bank and you want a business card. The bank, the business itself is not a person, and they're not the responsible ones making the payment. So the bank wants to know, who can I take to court in the event that this default? Whose credit am I going to look at to establish, to see that there's an established history? It's going to be you, the individual. And so, yes, I have a business and I have a personal, two separate credit. But before I could get one, I had to use my personal one. Are we clear with that? Am I understood?
A little bit. So the business is not a person. So they need whose name the business is into, because the business is just a business.
Correct. They're going to need an individual person.
So they don't look at how much your business is bringing in, or they just want is an individual thing they're looking at. It's not how much money your business is bringing in or how profitable your business is.
They first need a profile. The business by itself doesn't have a profile, especially when you're just starting up.
But if your business is established, say, for 7 years, 5 years, 10 years,
they still need a personal profile.
Okay.
However, when you compile your finances, because eventually they're going to look at that to determine whether or not you're eligible for that loan, then they're going to look at both.
Okay.
So what do they look at when you're talking about General Motors, Mobil, and those big corporations?
Okay. Keep in mind, those big corporations already has banks that's in their corner that they've been doing business with for many years. So they know that those companies that you just mentioned has been profitable, and even sometimes they're not profitable because they're indebted with so much money they cannot allow them to fail, because if they fail, the bank itself is going to lose. So in that sense, yes, they're going to look at the board of trustees and they're going to look at the corporation itself. But there still has to be a personal profile on file. A responsible person, the president, the vice president, the treasurer, and so forth, has to also be on file. And believe it or not, even with the church, the treasurer and the members of whoever that the church chooses has to fill out documents that has to be submitted to the bank that they are going to be trustees So yes, eventually it's going to need a personal profile that they're going to look at.
One more question there, brother Garcia. How could I say it real quickly? I have a car.
Yes.
Say I have $9,000 left in the car. So my credit union said, listen, how much you pay on your car? I said I pay 5.7 or 5.6 for the loan or something like that. They said, okay, we're going to give you $25,000 at 2.7. Now, if I turn in that car back to the bank, will that affect my credit?
No, yes, it will affect your credit. Once you haven't pay off that loan, they are going to report that in a negative way, and it will go against your credit. Yes.
Okay. All right.
Now, here's something that a lot of people misunderstand.
Yeah.
Is, for example, let's say I have 12 credit cards. 12 credit cards, and each credit card has different balances on it. Now, each month I'm struggling to make payments on them, but it's taken me forever to paying them off. How do I pay it off at a faster rate? All right, and I'm going to ask someone here to tell me, how would you have these 12 cards, or how would you pay it off at a faster rate?
Can consolidate.
No, what I do, because that's the 12th credit card, sound like you talking to me. What I do, two ways I did it. First, I had look at which one have the highest interest. Okay. I used to pay off the one with the lowest interest, and then use that money that I used to pay the one with the lowest interest to pay off the next one. But now I'm learning, you pay off the one with the highest interest first, and then you use that money to also to pay down the next one. Or what you can do also too is make 2 payments on the card. You make, you know, pay the earlier part of the month, then you make another payment before the due date. You can correct me if I'm wrong, all right? But that's what I did.
Okay, no, and I like that. Now, let me ask you a question, because you're close to the formula in how to pay down multiple cards. The one that has the highest credit, I'm sorry, the interest rate, is that the one that has the highest balance?
Give me a minute, hold on.
No. You don't have to go and look. Okay.
No, just give me a moment. I want to be accurate. I want to be really, I don't want to, let me make sure. I have it right here by me.
Okay.
Oh, to be honest with you, no.
It's not.
No, it's not.
Okay. Here's the formula from a financial, if you were to sit with a financial advisor, what he or she would advise you in doing. If I have 12 cards, one card has, let's say, $700, another card has $5,000, it's better to look at the one that has the least amount of money owing, not necessarily the highest interest rate, even though that's not a bad idea either. Sometimes people, after they make the minimum payments on their credit cards, they find that they have an extra $100 at the end of the month, and they'll want to use that towards the card. Some people would generally divide that up amongst different cards and then make additional payments. And that process is not what would be advised on how to pay it off your credit cards. The card that you have that has the lowest balance on it, that's the card that you would focus on your additional money that you have in paying that card off. You're going to make your minimum payments on all the other cards, Because again, remember, what you're looking to do is to establish that history. So once you're making the minimum payment, you're meeting that requirement. However, if you have something additional that you want to pay, use that and pay down that lowest card. Now, within a short period of time, in less than a year, depends on what the balance is on that card, and sometimes it'll take just a few months, you would be able to pay off that card. So now instead of 12, you have 11 in a period of, let's say, 4 months, for example. Remember, you have a budget, right? And when you set your budget, you're now have X amount of money allocated towards everything, and this is what you have going towards your bills. So now that you pay off that card, the minimum payment on that was, for example, $50. You now have an additional $150. Don't use that on something else. Stick to the budget that you planned. And now take that $150 and attack the next lowest amount. You're going to find that within a year or even a year and a half, you're going to be debt free from all these credit cards. And it's been proven. Right? Any questions? Okay. If there's none, go right ahead.
No, I kind of wanted to jump back to the caller before your last caller. The gentleman that said that if he got the 2.7 or 2.5 from the credit union, if it would affect his credit if he took that money. I just wanted to make sure I was understanding him correctly, because I thought he meant the credit union was going to give him that money at that interest rate to pay for his car cash. So he would pay for that car. So no.
Let me repeat that. Let me repeat it again.
Yeah.
No, my credit union give me approved loan for $25,000 for 2.7 to purchase a car. I got a month to find a car. But right now I have a car that I'm paying for, which I have maybe like $9,000 left. So when I compare the interest rate that the credit union is giving me is 2.5 or 2.7. And the loan that I have is 5.2 or 5.7 or whatever, something like that. So the 25 is a better interest rate more than the $9,000 that I have left on the car.
So in other words,
so you don't want to keep that car?
Brother Lynch, what you're saying is, are you going to pay off that existing loan, or are you just going to give them the car without paying off the balance of that loan?
Well, all right. I didn't want to make it be a long thing. That's why I cut it so short. So what I'm really thinking about doing is I really want to take the loan for the 2.7. The car, I'm thinking about taking the car to a dealer and see. I know they're not going to give me the $9,000. I know they're not going to give me the $9,000, the value of the car. I said if they give me $8,000 for the car, I would take the $1,000 hit, because in interest and all of that, I still come off with a better deal of getting it's a 2000 car I have, so I would maybe get something for 2016 for the $25,000.
Okay, my brother, I'm going to cut it short here and just say this, right? Whatever you do, the balance that you have in the car, once you pay that off, however you get the resources to do so, then your credit would be maintained or considered to be good. However, initially when you asked, I thought you were just going to give them the car, and
I wanted to.
No, just hear me for a second. That you're going to give them the car and then consider the balance null and void. That you cannot do. If you do that and there's still a balance, you're still responsible for it.
Okay.
However, if you paid off then you would be in the bracket where you would have done what the creditor expected you to do, the responsible thing.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're gonna move forward now to now if someone has questions about their credit or credit, you can still go back and ask it, right? But I'm gonna move now towards debts or the different type of debts. We have positive debts and we have negative debts. And what are some of the debts that you would consider to be positive debt or negative debt? Can someone just help me? What do you think a positive debt and a negative debt is?
Buying a house debt.
Positive house, but yes. I'm sorry?
Negative debt, student loan.
Okay. Does anyone else agree with that one, that last statement?
Nope.
Exactly.
Nope.
Exactly.
Say,
when you're, I'm sorry, go ahead.
It's a voluntary debt, just like your mortgage. So when you say negative and positive, but those are voluntary liens, pretty much, that like your mortgage that you have on your house. But there is also involuntary stuff that you also have.
So your education, investing in yourself, knowing that if you graduate with a doctorate degree, your employer is going to consider you, well, right off the bat, if you go in and you apply for a job, you're going to be making more money than someone who has only a high school diploma. So your education is always considered to be a positive debt. Buying a house is a positive debt. Why? Because that house over a period of time values what?
The appreciation.
It appreciates. You have what's called capital gains. So, or in layman's term, equity. So with you're gaining from it. But negative debts would be a debt such as buying a car. The moment you drive off that car lot, that car value does what?
Depreciates.
It depreciates, it goes down. Having credit cards, negative debt. Using up all these credit cards, negative debts. So
can I just add something? So are you saying basically positive debt is anything which is an investment in yourself, which could yield to an increase at a later date, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Now I'm sorry?
I have a question.
Before you go on, you said all right, I had stated that negative debt is student loan. But what if that student loan is not in your is not for you? Say like Parent Plus loan, that's for your child.
Okay. A student loan, I will always consider a student loan a positive debt, whether you're investing in yourself or in your child. Those are and will always be considered to be a positive debt. That's something that, as my sister just said a little while ago, that you're going to gain from. All other debts, you're failing. When you have a car, the car doesn't appreciate in value, it depreciates. When you have a credit card, for example, the interest rate, when you multiply what you're paying in interest over the length of that card, is going to far exceed the amount that you're gaining from it. So you will never catch up or break even.
Well, question to you.
Yeah.
Are there negative debts?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brother Lynch, mute your phone, please. Brother Lynch, mute your phone. I'm sorry, someone had a question. Was that you, Pastor? Yes, can you continue with your question or point? Okay. I gather that we all have our calculator and our papers and pen in hand. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So now this is the exercise that we're going to learn and see and evaluate whether or not buying the type of house that we're going to buy, the size of house that we're going to buy, and the location in which we're going to look to purchase this home. So the example that I have here, my calculator is on my phone, and I'm using my phone here for this program. So therefore, I had already did the math. So just bear with me and follow along. But you could write it down, and you yourselves, I want you guys to go back and practice this and look over it, because at the end, you're going to be well informed. When you're purchasing a house, for example, the price, $550,000. It's a lot of money, right? And something I'm going to say here, even though we're in a pandemic, you think that the value of properties would go down. And I'm telling you, the values of property has held. It's not, as a matter of fact, even in the pandemic, the value of a house or a property has gone up. It has increased and it has not decreased. So the purchase price of this house, $550,000, right? When you go shopping to buy a house, you call up a real estate person, a sales agent, and he or she are going to tell you or ask you this question: were you pre-approved? Were you pre-qualified? What it simply means is that, are you speaking with a banker? Are you speaking with a broker? Did they give you a letter to say, based on your salary, based on your income, can you qualify, or what amount of loan can you be qualified for? What is your spending power? So without even running your credit based on your income, or they sometimes may even do a soft inquiry. All right, and when we were talking about your FICO score and your credit score, I'm surprised someone didn't ask about the question about if you run your credit a number of times, what adverse effect does it have on you? So you want to be careful when you're buying a car or when you're buying a house that folks are not running your credit score too many times, because by doing that, your scores are going to go down, right? And I'm going to go back. Just allow me to go back for a second here regarding the credit score. A lot of people charges a lot of money, and I'm pretty sure you guys have heard it, to rebuild your credit, right? This is something that is very simple that you can do for yourself. You don't have to pay money to do so. Give me a second here. My phone is acting up. Yes. And what happened is there are three major credit bureau credit agencies. You have TransUnion, you have Equifax, and you have Experian. So if you yourself could just download the app or an app and look at your credit score, and if there's something on your credit score that affecting you, or if your credit score is bad, pull your credit, take a look at it. What are some negative things that are on there? And all you have to do, you don't have to pay, which people pay thousands of dollars to help them to repair or rebuild their credit. All you have to do is write a one-liner. I am not aware of this item that's on my credit report, and send it off to these three credit agencies or credit bureaus. And what they're going to do is they're going to send a letter to that creditor that's having that negative effect or reporting that negative thing about your credit. They're going to send them a letter. It takes 90 days. If that company or institution does not respond and provide facts why this credit is being reported against you, then it comes off of your credit report. And in turn, your FICO score does what? It goes up, right? Do we understand that? So if someone comes to you and tells you, Brother Delroy, I can help you to repair and rebuild your credit, then tell that person it's okay, I could do it myself. They're going to charge you, because I've seen it, at least $1,500 people have charged for doing this. Then all you have to do is to download the app, take a look at it, or pull your credit report. What are the negative things that are on there? And then just write it doesn't have to be a long established letter. I know back then when I was in the bank, they wanted it to be handwritten. I'm not sure because I've left the bank many years now. I'm not sure. But if it's still the same, I would say write it, don't type it, and just express, I'm not aware of this. They have 90 days to respond. And if they don't respond within that 90 days, it comes off and your score starts going up within a short period of time. So back to what I was saying. Back to what I was saying in terms of being pre-qualified. So you've identified a house, correct? Are we still out there?
You're still here.
Okay. Pastor Wright, do me a favor. I'm seeing some comments in the section there. So if you could just monitor it and see if someone has a question that maybe someone is afraid to ask, maybe you could ask for them. So you identify a house, and in identifying this house, for example, the purchase price I just gave you of $550,000. Don't just accept that. Bargain with the person. You're the buyer, I'm the seller. I'm going to ask for more than what I initially want for the house, because I know you, the buyer, are going to look to negotiate with me. So therefore, if I'm truly looking to make $550,000 from this house, I'm going to sell it for $650,000. And you know what happened? If you, the buyer, agrees to the $650,000, I win. I more than win, because initially all I'm looking for is $550,000. Do not be fooled that it's based on the government sets a price for a house. Just like supply and demand, if you demand the item and I'm going to supply it to you, I could ask for whatever I want.
So, Elder.
Yes.
Is this a cash deal you're referring to, or you're referring to a loan? Because if it is a loan, isn't it true that the house will still have to be appraised?
It has to be appraised, yes. And in appraising of that house, remember what I said before about the lawyer, the bank, and the appraiser. All of them work hand in hand. And again, I'm telling you from experience, because I spent 70 years in the bank as a broker. I started out at Citibank. All of them, it goes hand in hand. If the property is sold for that value above what the market value is in the area, it now brings up the property value for all those houses that are in the area. So other landlords win. The tax people win, because now they're going to increase the value of the taxes that you're paying. So the only person who doesn't win here is the buyer, and that's what I'm saying. And I'm glad that Pastor is having this program, so that you as the buyer need to be aware of these tricks. There is absolutely not too many things and or people in your corner.
But if the price goes up like that, then doesn't it now becomes a non-conforming loan, which is out of the norm?
Okay. This is something else that I wanted to bring up to you. In terms of people being you're not making the amount of money. And when we go through the exercise, you're going to see on a $550,000 loan what the monthly payment is going to be, right? In this case, I believe it was, just give me a second, the monthly payment on this loan here, which I'm jumping the gun, over $4,253 monthly. Now, there are people who are going to come to you who don't meet that criteria because their income isn't as such for them to afford this house. And I was there in the bank, and I'm telling you, and that's the reason why in the 90s, remember when the housing market dropped? Collapse? Remember when we had that collapse?
2008.
2008.
Yeah.
This was because of this very same thing. There were many people who could not afford these houses. But at that time, computer, people were altering the paperwork and were putting you with the brokers within these banks, altering the paperwork, increasing your income. And as a result, there were a lot of foreclosures, played a big role in the collapse of the housing market, then causing the federal government to step in and change certain laws. But as I said to you, my brother Fitzroy, it's based on supply and demand. So if I'm buying a house, if I'm selling a house and you're buying a house, I am going to say to that appraisal, I need you to appraise this house at a certain amount. What they change is that bank or that broker should not have any direct contact with the appraisal, because they could coerce that person into bringing in a number to make that loan work or that deal work. But even though the federal government have put that in place, it still happens.
But the illegal stuff still goes on because that's illegal, and to appraise it, it has to be a comparable sale based upon what's the market price.
Okay.
That,
would you not find out what the rest of the houses in the neighborhood were sold for in the past year or so?
Yes, you do. And it's called comps.
But
comps meaning they're going to give you a number of houses within, I believe it's within 1 to 5 miles radius. And you're going to see, but how much within that radius each houses was sold for. But keep in mind, if the last house was sold for, let's say, $450,000, with me asking for, let's say, $150,000 additional onto my property I'm selling, there's nothing against that. Because what they're going to say is there's something called capital gains.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I just wanted to, so I heard what Fitzroy was saying, but I also wanted to just remind everyone that you have to be your own best advocate.
Yes.
And your real estate agent should really be in your corner. Unfortunately, a lot of real estate agents are not in your corner. I myself am an agent, but I negotiate my butt off for my clients. I say to all my clients, never offer full price, never offer asking price. Okay. And the reason I do that, and people look at me as if I'm crazy because my commission is going to be less. Yeah, my commission is going to be less, but my interest is not just in my commission. Yes, my commission is important, but my interest is making sure that you enter your house with even at least $5,000 to $10,000 in equity. The trick with comps is this, and this is one of the problems that people don't realize. Now, if I decide to buy 5 houses on a block. For instance, the block I live on, one guy owned 11 of these houses. So if I were that owner and I own those 11 houses, I can sell my house to myself for any price I want. So when you run the comps and you see that, okay, 5 of these houses sold for $350,000, they're probably not even worth more than $200,000. But I can sell my house to my brother, my cousin, my son, anybody I want, and put it on paper. And when you do comps, that's what you're looking at. You're looking at what the houses in the market really, what they sold for. But like I tell all my clients, the house is worth what it's worth to you who are buying it.
Exactly.
Not to the seller. And unfortunately, a lot of people do not educate themselves on that. And they fall in love with the house. And I say, never fall in love with a house, because you're going to get yourself in trouble. Do not buy, because just like you say, when that seller puts the house on the market, they have already calculated exactly how much they want. And they have factored in it that, okay, if this person come in and asks for less, I can take off 5%, 10% and still get what I want.
Yes.
You coming in offering full price, you're giving them more than they expected to get anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to advocate for yourself, and your agent should be doing that.
And that's why we're having a program like this, so that you can be informed. Again, a person informed is a person what? You save, you win. Now, someone wrote in the comment section, because they're asking for us to roll. If we could try to get through the program, and if you could write things down as we go along. And because a couple of folks wrote in the comment section that they would like for us to just go through with the program, and then we ask some questions in the end, if that's okay with us.
Yes, that makes sense.
Good. So let's go through the exercise that we have. A house is purchased. And again, remember, the person who is selling the house, they have an ideal price in mind. Don't always accept the price that they're selling it for. Always negotiate. And I'm telling you, you do have room to negotiate. So a purchase price of $550,000. Now, this is a single family house, right? There are 2 exercises that we're going to do so that we could compare, and you're going to see the benefit of the second one. However, not everyone wants to be a landlord, right? So 5%, you have between 3 to 10%. When I was in the bank and someone comes to me, I would normally tell the person, as much as some people are going to say, put down as much as you can. There are things that's considered to be hidden costs that's going to come up. So tell me, as I normally tell them, be brutally honest with me, how much money you have that you're working with. And I know you don't want to spend all of it. So I will help you to keep some of that money back. Never put down an awful lot of money, unless it's a difference of 100,000 or 200,000. The difference of 20,000 or 50,000, it actually makes no difference. It's a small impact when you calculate the year amount, the amount that you would have paid over the year. It's a small amount. So it doesn't make sense to you to spend it. It only makes sense for you to hold on to it. So let's use 5%. And this is an example. Your down payment for a house of $550,000, 5% we're going to put down. You could put down anywhere between 3 to 10%, minimum of 3. So we're going to do 5. The down payment amount for 5% of $550,000 is $27,500, right? Remember, you could just take the notes as we go along, and you could go through this yourselves, right? So how do I come up with this $25,500? I'm going to multiply 550,000 times 5%, and it gives me that 27,500. I'm going to subtract your down payment, which is $27,500 from $550,000. And that's going to bring me now to $522,500. So I'm now going to go to the bank and ask for a loan pending that I am qualified for. And I'm glad that my sister is here on the call with us, who is knowledgeable of the process. There are two types of loan. Well, there's several types of loan. I'm going to focus on adjustable. You have an adjustable rate. This is not the ideal loan that you want to, when buying a house, apply for. Because with the adjustable rate, your mortgage payment every 5 years, or depends on the term, is going to change, is going to go up. It also goes up based on how the market is doing. Then you have your conventional loan. The conventional loan is the ideal loan that offers the lowest interest rate. That one is the ideal loan. That's the loan that you want. You have one for the VA loan, and those are if you were someone who served in the armed forces, then that's a loan that the government back that you don't have to put anything down. However, you put nothing down, your payment's going to be a little higher than someone who put something down. So also keep that in mind. And then you have the FHA loan. The FHA loan is, I'm going to say 95% of the time, or 95% of the loans that I have helped to process in the past were FHA loans. Why? Because either the person didn't make enough money, so your income wasn't good, or your credit score, your FICO score, was not good. So there's something called LTV, right? What's an LTV? It's a loan, it's loan to value. So for a conventional loan, your loan to value is going to be lower than an FHA loan. The loan to value for a conventional loan, and you have two numbers that they calculate. They call it the front and the back. The front number where it's just the mortgage only, right? The mortgage only divided by, your income divided by your mortgage. It's going to give you that number. So they're saying up to, I'm going to say the ideal would be 28% of your monthly income is being spent on your mortgage only. That's the front end, right? I think that would go as high as 29, but that's shaky, right? You don't want to go higher than 28. 28% of your mortgage, of your income is being spent on your mortgage. And then on the back end now is you factor in your mortgage, your car payments, your credit card payments, all other payments that are on your credit report, factor into that. With a conventional loan, they will go as high as 34, right? That's ideal. The lowest interest rate, however, there's a little more strict with it. Whereas if you have a FHA loan, an FHA loan now allows you more room. With an FHA loan, the front, and again, remember, this is someone where your credit score is not good. You weren't too responsible, but you have a family, you have to go and buy a house. You need somewhere to live and you have some money. You're going to have to now spend more because the interest rate is going to be higher. Prime example of not protecting your credit rating and your credit score and being responsible with your spending power. So your front ratio is going to be 34%, the highest that they will go, which again is going to be 34% of your income, your monthly income is going towards your mortgage. On the back end, they will go as high as 45. And that's with your mortgage payments, your car payments, and other expense that you're going to have that shows up on your credit score goes up to 45. I have seen some cases where the loan has gone up to even 47%, but that's now you're going to go into that shaded or gray area where the bank is going to have a difficult time saying yes or no to you. So you don't want to have that, right? So line number 5, we have 550,000. You take away 27,500, you're left with 522,500. There's something that's called an earnest money, right? Earnest money is separate from your down payment. My lady here who spoke earlier, she's a broker, I believe. She's a broker. She took her client to look at a house. What guarantees that the seller or that broker has that your word means something? That after you saw the house, you like the house, and you're going to walk away and you're going to say, yes, you know what? I want to buy that house. What guarantee do they have that you are going to go back or not going to go back on your word? They're going to ask you for what's called earnest money. Most of the time, an earnest money is not a lot of money, right? So I'm going to use the number 5,000 because it's normally not a lot of money. So they're going to ask you for a check that they're going to hold in escrow, which is going to be added towards your down payment at the closing. You get that money back and you get credit at the closing of that 5,000. So subtract now your earnest money from your $522,500 and you're left with $517,500, right? I'm going to ask the question. Just give me a brief yes. Are we with me so far?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So the $517,500 that we have left, that's what we're applying, are going to apply to the bank now for a loan. And again, this is information so you could be somewhat prepared. Whenever you apply for a loan amount, it'll give you an idea of how much your mortgage monthly obligation is going to be, even before you go to a bank.
So could you say that figure again? You know, the earnest money you said is 200, what is it, 227,000, did you say?
No, 5,000. The earnest money is 5,000.
So I don't know, I got the bank. Okay, 5,000, that's how much? Okay.
So you subtract from the 522,500, and you're going to have a new number now of 517,500.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So you're going to divide that 517,500, divide that by, we have 365 days in a week. I'm sorry, in a year. In a week, that would be ideal. We have 365 days in a year. Divide that 517,500 by that 365, and you're going to now have $1,417.81. That's going to be your principal only, right? Your principal only. So now, how do I factor in or calculate my taxes, my insurance, and my interest, right? Take that $1,417.81 and multiply it by 3, right? Now, this is a good estimate, right? When I was there in the bank, we would multiply that anywhere between 3 to 5. And then it will give me a good idea of what the monthly payment is going to be, even before the underwriter comes back and give us the final number. So multiply that $1,417.81 times 3, close estimate, and that's going to give you $4,253.40. That's going to be your monthly payment, including your escrow. I'm sorry, including your interest, your taxes, and your insurance. Right? Now, when you multiply that your monthly payment here of $4,253.40, multiply that times 12, right? It's going to give you $51,041.80. That's what you're going to be paying in mortgage for the year. That's a lot of money, right? Now, there's another column here that I am going to start up, right? Money's for the closing. So just make another notation. Because remember, we have a closing coming up. We have to go to the closing with certain amount of money. If not, we cannot close on this deal and the bank will not authorize the sale of this property. So monies for closing, these are going to be some of your closing costs. Remember your down payment, the 5%, $27,500. This is going to be part of your closing costs, right? So you're going to put that under closing cost. Then you're going to have what's called a broker's fee. And my sister is here with me, right? I'm going to estimate anywhere between 1 to 10%. A broker would normally charge. Some brokers charge a lot more. So I'm being generous here. I was called to do a refinance for a person. And this gentleman was from Haiti. And when I look at his closing documents and his good faith estimate, this gentleman was refinancing his property to lower his monthly payments. This gentleman, the broker, walk away with $75,000 from this person. That's an awesome amount. He saw this person coming and ripped this person off. I left there that day. I could not even tell the person what had happened. However, let's now multiply 5%. So that 5% again, here goes that 5% again, times the selling price or the purchase price is going to give you the same amount as your down payment, $27,500. That's your broker's fee. Then you're going to have your underwriter's fee. You're going to have your processing fee. Some bank charge application fees. And guess what? There are other fees that they're going to charge. It's called points. So they may tell you you're paying 6% at 1.5 points. So then it would be 1.5 times the 550,000. That's additional money. Especially if you're someone who has excellent credit, you could basically walk into any bank or negotiate at this point which bank you want to use. There's no need for you to pay that fee. So your total closing costs here, I'm going to estimate that is going to be anywhere between $65,000 to $70,000. Alarming?
Mercy.
Now, I want you to turn to a fresh page.
Before you go there, Judge Garcia, I can tell you plain.
Yes.
All what you just said a while ago. They don't have to pay a cent. They just have to know what to do.
No, I'm sorry. Repeat that, please.
All of what you just tell them a while ago, that send them frightened and scared. They don't have to pay a cent. I can tell you that right now.
Uh-huh.
You can make the bank pay every cent. You don't pay a cent.
No, correct. But my brother Elder, this is what happens when you either are informed or you're not informed.
Okay.
Right. I ask people that I know who are buying houses. I said, do me a favor. Ask the bank to give you your good faith estimate and bring it to me. Because I'm going to look at that good faith estimate and I'm going to dissect it. And I'm going to let him or her know this and this and this they're charging you. You don't have to pay it. You understand what I'm saying? But if you don't know, this is what's going to happen.
Right, because if I'm buying your property from you now, guys, you're my friend. The bank is gonna pay every single fee for you and for me. It all depends on what we say to the bank. America is all about what comes out of your mouth and what you put on paper. You must be smart.
Correct. And it also has to do with your credit rating. So that's why it's urgently important for us to protect your credit. Protect your credit. Protect your credit. I cannot say that often enough. That's how important it is. Now, remember the numbers that we just did, right? And I'm hoping that you have that. Keep it side by side with the other calculation now that we're going to do. You're going to see an alarming difference. So the last time that I was here, I explained to you the first property that I purchased had 16 apartments. 16 apartments. The purchase price that the seller wanted, this was his desired price. He wanted $450,000. No, I didn't accept that. And again, keep in mind, this is 16 apartments, 16 apartment building. He was selling it for $450,000. I negotiated with him and brought it down to $380,000. Right? $380,000. And because this was a commercial property, yes, it's residential, but it's considered to be commercial. Why? Because any property 6 apartments or above falls into a commercial zone. So it's going to be different from a single family house. Remember, the property before was a single family house. This property, 16, $380,000. The down payment for this one, and I remembered it vividly 15 years ago, $110,000. Fortunately for me at the time, I didn't have to put down any earnest money. They took my word. This was 9 hours out of New York, away from New York. But they took my word for it. My monthly payments for this property each month was $3,500. The income from the property, I was making $9,500 per month. Right? Now, do you see where I'm going so far? Please respond.
Yes.
You guys understand and see where I'm going?
Yeah.
450, bought it for 380, 16 families. Yes, I had to put down 110,000 because it's commercial. I had to put down, and for commercial property, the down payment for that has to be anywhere between 25 to 30,000. I mean, 25 to 30% of the purchasing price. So I put down 110,000. The monthly payment, $3,500. The income on it was $9,500. My monthly overhead, which is important for us to know and understand. The monthly overhead, meaning my monthly expenses, because again, remember, I had a management company who was managing the property. I had someone who had to clean the property, someone who had to shovel the snow, someone who had to maintain the lawn. Roughly, my monthly overhead was around $2,500, which means I was making an income of $3,500. That $3,500 over a period of a year, this was an additional $42,000 that I was making each year, in addition to my job. Any questions? I know I say I'm going to wait until the end. Any comments? Do we see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, quick question. I was just wondering, why was the person selling that property for so cheap anyway? I mean, 380,000 for 16 apartments. Why was it so cheap? Was that just a one-off? Is that what usually happens for commercial property?
Normally, when you're buying a property, you normally get more for less when you buy in bulk. Remember, when you buy in bulk or purchase anything in bulk, you go to the grocery store, you buy something in bulk, you normally get more for less. In this case, this gentleman had many different properties. This person also had a restaurant and he had a bar. He had his own winery. And so his wine company that he made his own wine, he needed some money in a short period of time. He was he had a machine that they were making for his wine company over in Japan that he had to go over there to pay for to bring it back. And so he wanted to sell this property. And again, I didn't know much because this was 9 hours, 900 miles away from where I live. I've never been in the area, never been anywhere close to the area. But what I did was I went online. I spent 4 hours looking up properties. And that was the state where I was getting the most for less. So I hopped in my car and I drove up there. And that day when I drove up there, with the broker, we had arranged for me to see about 7 properties. So while I was there, and very important, guys, in doing our homework, it's urgently important. And for me then, because again, remember, that was my first time buying a property, never been in the area. I know no one there, and I live in New York. This property is in Ohio. I had to learn to trust. And so how did I develop that relationship with that property manager? When I got there, for example, if I had to meet with them at 1 o'clock, I got there at 10 o'clock in the morning. And each property that I set up was to go look at. I met with a number of the tenants in talking with them. So that's how I am doing my homework here. And when I met with the tenants, I made notes of what they were telling me, what was wrong, what did they like about this property, what was some of the issues that they were having, plumbing issue, whether the roof was leaking, whether in the wintertime the boiler system would fail. What are some of the problems? So when I met with the sellers, I already had a good idea as to what's going on. The property manager and I are still in business even today, even though I am no longer in that area. I left there and went somewhere else because he was brutally honest with me. What the tenants were telling me, he didn't know that I met with the tenants. He too gave me roughly the same information. And then something else he said to me for me to choose which property. He said to me, I'm going to advise you to pick or choose 1150 Bryden Road. That's the property. That's the address, 1150 Bryden Road in Columbus, Ohio. Why? Because that property, you had a lot of seniors. The other properties had a lot of young people who were in school at Ohio State University. And so with that, what comes with that? They have a tendency to move in a short period of time. So I didn't have a long-term lease with them. The other property where you had more seniors, they are more stable. So what are the chances are somebody moving out within the next month or within the next year? I had a long-term with them. And so I chose that, and I chose that property manager. And we had an excellent for the next, I'm going to say, up until 2018, we had an excellent relationship, and including now, we still have an excellent relationship. When we do stuff like this that we're on, or when we go to a function, we should always keep in mind to network. And even though you may no longer there, you maintain that relationship, because there's going to become a time when you're going to need that individual or those individuals. And I'm going to tell you, it came handy when I was buying this current property where I am now, even though I'm no longer there. And yes, I still have a license to do business in that state. I needed them because I needed a document to be signed. And I just called them up, and it was, Garcia, anything that we can do to help. So let's continue with the math here. The monthly income, $3,500, $42,000 per year. Let's go back to the single family house. So these are some of the advantages of buying a single family house or disadvantage to buying a multiple family house. Now, let's go over some of the disadvantages here for a single family house. Single family house, it takes from you. It doesn't give you an income. It takes from you. Now, again, don't get me wrong. There are some people who just wants to live comfortably. And if you're someone like Delroy, who is on this call here, and you make an abundance amount of money, that's fine. You just want to live somewhere in the suburbs, don't want to worry with tenants, that's fine and that's understood. But for the most part, for someone like me, that I described to you how poor background that I came up the last time that I was here, I want something that's going to give me an income. I want money. So I'm not going to buy, whether it's a single family or two family or three family. For me, if it's not something 20 units or above, then I'm not interested in it. But that's for me. A lot of us here may not be on that level as yet. And it's okay to start off with, let's say, 2, 3, 4, 5 units. It's okay. Now, I said before, location is important. And for my sister there, you and your mom who are in London, and I know it's late there in London, and thank you for staying up and being here with us. You're not in New York City, and I live in New York City. But I'm going to tell you or suggest real estate in New York City is extremely expensive. Mm-hmm. There is nothing wrong in looking elsewhere. And I'm going to tell you, it's worth it. Because that property that you're going to buy, look at this property here, how much money it's taken from you, $51,000 out of the money that you are working hard, breaking your back for. It's taken from you. And guess what happened? That's your mortgage only. There are other expenses that comes along with buying a single family house. Which one do you think I would suggest and lean towards? It's your preference. What is it that you're looking for? Are you looking to make more? Are you looking to build wealth? Both of these, you're building wealth, but one of them, you're building it faster than the other one. Most of the time, that single family house, you as the owner, you don't live to reap the equity. You don't live to reap the benefit. Your children does. And I'm not saying anything is wrong with that. However, I tell myself I work hard and I want to put myself in a position to retire at an early age so I can enjoy the hard work that I put in.
Amen.
And yes, while I want to leave something for my kids or those who follows me, I want to be able to enjoy it now, to do for myself.
Yes, for sure. Mm-hmm.
What is your motivation? A lot of us have money, and a lot of us have it in the bank. And a lot of us say or thinks having $100,000 in the bank is wealth or is money. It's not wealth.
Not making anything from it.
And you're not making anything from it. However, there's a particular account that you could open up at the bank that you could make money from. And I'm not sure how many people knows about it. It's called a wealth management account. In 2018, when I sold that property in Columbus, Ohio, I put $200,000 in a wealth management account. And there was a time, and as we know, the market goes up and down. And that wealth management account, they invested directly into the stock market. And there was a period of time when that 200,000 was down to 175,000. I'm pausing to let that register because, like I said again, it's something based on how the market is doing. You're either going to gain or you're going to lose. Now, is that a bad thing? But I'm going to be honest with you. I never, it never bothered me when I saw it at as low as 175. And then because that was in the summertime, now the summer went and the winter was coming. And as we know, as Christmas draws closer, that the market are going to do what? It's going to skyrocket, right, Delroy? I know you're out there. And so there were days when I started making to the point where it went right back to where I started. And then there were days I would make $300 a day. And there are days I would make $5,000 a day. At the end of it, when I bought the current property that I have now, that we have, that 200,000 was now 280,000. I'm going to let that sink in again. And that's directly at the bank. That's directly at the bank. So you could, if you have that just a regular bank account, you're making nothing or pennies. And the bank is making an abundance of money on your money. And they're paying you nothing.
True.
And I'm going to give you a shocker because I know it's tax season coming up. And a lot of people are under the misconception that when they get money back from the IRS, it's a good thing. And I'm going to tell you tonight that is not a good thing. It's not a good thing. A lot of people are happy. I filed my income tax. I'm getting back. This is what others are saying, not me, that they're getting back 3,000, 5,000, 10,000, and they're happy. It's not a good thing. And the reason why I'm going to tell you it's not a good thing, I'm sorry, I'm going off, but I'm going to, go back, is because when you borrow money from the government, you have to pay an interest back, correct? You do.
Yes.
When the government borrows from you, and that's what they do here, they withhold too much of your money. Are they giving you back an interest on it? The answer is no, they're not. They're giving you back your dead money. So at the end of the tax season, when you file and you have to pay back, that's a good thing for you. It means that you have gotten a loan from the government at 0% interest rate. So don't consider that a bad thing when at the end of the year or April, when you file and you have to pay back. It's not a bad thing, right? So with that said, and going back to the bank, I know before the pandemic hit, banks were competing with one another. If you open up a new account, and every bank was doing this. Not sure if they're still doing it now because I haven't looked at it since the pandemic. If you open up a new account, even though you have an account with that bank, Citibank, Chase Bank, Carver, PNC, whatever the bank is, Capital One, if you have an existing account with them, it's okay. You could go to them or could have gone to them and said, hey, I would like to open up a new account with 5,000 or 10,000, however it is. And they were going to give you anywhere up to $1,500. Depends on the amount that you open up that account with. Again, I'm pausing to let that sink in. How many of us took advantage of that? How many of us knew about this? Not too many people. I'm going to raise my hand because I took advantage of it. Guess how much I made in 3 months? And that was the time period that was given. You had to have this account established for 3 months. And at the end of the 3 months, I got $1,500. But I'm going to tell you something else, right? There are others out there. And when I say others, I'm going to say other races where for me to have gotten that $1,500, I had to fight for it where other races did not have to fight for it. But I was consistent and persistent. I had to speak all the way up to the president of that branch because they were trying to find ways for me not to have gotten that money. But it was clearly, they advertised it. And when you go there, it was clearly advertised. However, I thought initially I was going to get even more. So I put in a lot more than what the requirement was, but there was some fine lines that said up to $1,500. But after going to the bank about 5 times and speaking to about 5 different individuals within the bank, I was able to get my $1,500. I wasn't satisfied with the amount because I thought it should have been more because that's what was said. But then after they read and went over the fine prints, that's why it's important to read these fine prints. I walk away with my $1,500. So again, guys, I'm going to say, I'm going to give you an example of another person that I sat with years ago. This person was renting, and this person had a mechanic business where they were also renting. And the person said to me, what do you think? I have accumulated X amount of money. And I'm interested now, I'm looking to either buy a house, a 1-family house this person was looking to buy, or I am looking to buy a garage whereby I could put my mechanic shop. And I sat with the person, I went over the numbers with them. I did just like we're doing the numbers here, or have done the numbers here. I sat with them and I showed him, if you have a income producing entity, that is going to propel you and give you the money you need to purchase the house. And not only will you purchase the house, you will still have that income producing entity. If you purchase the house, it's a 1-family house, it's only going to take from you. It's not going to give you an income that you're looking for. And so I left there. The person's in Connecticut. I drove back to New York, left there. Months went by. The person bought the single-family house. And I'm going to tell you, this person's a family member of mine. So the person bought that single-family house, and they're still renting where the mechanic business is. And this person right now is still in debt, and it's been many, many years since then. Still in debt. You know why? The business is taken. The single family house is taken. The little profit the business is giving you, the single family house is not allowing you to keep up, to the point where the person is constantly asking for help. And I'm saying we have an opportunity here, guys, to put ourselves in a different bracket financially for ourselves and for our family. Let's be smart in making sure we invest the money or the lending power that we have or that we have earned in a smart way, whereby you're going to gain financially from it, right? And I know a lot was said, and I'm going to move on to the 1031 exchange, right? But I'm going to ask if someone has something that they want to say onto what was just mentioned or what was just said. Okay, so we're going to move on. Thank you for complying. I know I made the request earlier that we're making notes, and towards the end that we're going to ask, so I don't want you to be afraid from asking. What is a 1031 exchange? My sister, who is on the line with us, the broker, the real estate broker, can you define that for me, please, or help me with it? Are you still with us? Okay.
Maria Manderson, he's speaking to you. Unmute. Hello, Maria, calling Maria Manderson, Sister Manderson.
Is that my sister Sonia? Okay, so a 1031 exchange, folks, allows you again to use the government money, but you have to use it to purchase a property. So Fitzroy, you're selling your house, and when you bought it for $200,000. 10 years went by and you made a lot of capital gains on it. So now you're looking to sell it and it's now worth $1 million. That's called capital gains. When you sell this house, and a lot of us, when we sell our properties, we voluntarily pay the IRS these taxes when in terms we don't have to. So the 1031 exchange allows you not to pay taxes on that $1 million that you would have just gained. How? You have to, there are many 1031 exchange companies that are out there, right? And I had to, I had to go back and do some research this week on it so I could gain more information on the 1031. But again, there are many 1031 exchange companies that are out there that the government says all 100% of this money that you made from selling your house, in order for you not to pay taxes on it, you have to put that in a trust, right? It's similar to an escrow, but it's called a 1031 exchange. You have to put it in a trust with a 1031 exchange established company that the government recognize. And so while it's there, you have 45 days to identify a property and sign a contract. After you identify and sign a contract, within the 45 days, you now have 180 days to close that deal. In other words, it takes a total of 6 months. Now, when you're buying a property, for the most part, a single family house or an average house would take anywhere between 45 days from the signing of the contract, 45 to 60 days from the signing of the contract before you actually close on that loan. So they're saying, if you identify that property within 45 days, close it within 180 days, you don't have to pay taxes on it. And guess what you're doing? You're capitalizing on the government's money in increasing your wealth, increasing your income potential. Because if you sold that property for $1 million, you would have paid at least $120,000, $150,000 in taxes. But instead, you're using that as a down payment towards purchasing another property. And guess what? The money that you're making, sorry?
You're gaining there.
You're gaining. And the money that you're making from that additional property is all for you. The government is not asking for a penny for it, from it, until you sell that property. And guess what happened? When you sell that property, you could do the very same thing again. So it can be a cycle that you use, or tool, or an avenue, an engine that you use to use the government money to build yourself and to build your family. Isn't that a good deal? How many people know of that program? How many of us on this line knows of this program?
Yeah.
That's one, but not too many people.
But my question to you, Garcia,
yes.
You can do the research on what I'm going to say to you. Why don't you just refinance, please? Take $1 million, put in your bank account, go buy any property you want, and then sell the property. You don't have to give the government anything. It's a loan you just took out.
Okay, yes, but remember what you said in the end? You sell the property.
Yeah, and right? You pay back the loan.
So, no. When you sell something, I'm sorry, that sale gets recorded and it gets sent to the government, and you're now under obligation to pay on that capital gain.
But where is the gain? You use it to pay back a loan.
Okay. When you sell a house, my brother, you have to pay taxes on it. And the
what taxes though? You have to prove. The government have to prove. The government have to prove your gain. You didn't gain anything. There's no money here.
But I understand. Listen, I understand and I see where you're going. And like you said, I will look into that and then get back to you.
Yeah, look into that.
I see where you're going to try to get around it.
And when you were buying that property, the man said he wanted how much? 400 and how much?
450.
450.
Yes.
How much you had to come up with?
110,000.
Okay. Did you come up with 110,000? I
had to. If not, I could not have purchased the property.
All right. So why didn't you just tell the man? All right. You want 380. Why don't I just raise it back and give you the 450 and you give me back $70,000?
Okay. Here's what happened. Listen, that's a method that can be used. But here's what happened. Remember,
you take the money and fix the place up. That's all you're doing. It's a monopoly.
No. Hear me, my brother. Remember, a higher loan amount, you're paying what on a higher loan amount? You're
not paying anything. The tenants are paying
it. Okay. Yes. But here's the gray area. Here's the gray area with that.
What?
Once you sign on the dotted line that the sale price, which is what you're suggesting, is of such.
Yes.
He's not under any legal obligation after you're done and the loan closed to give you that money. So it's a risky transaction.
No, guys, in America, if you write me a check, and when I go to cash a check, I don't get it, I can sue you. I can get you in a lot of trouble. Okay. That man will write you the check before you're going to closing.
You're misunderstanding the two.
No, I'm not misunderstanding. You're telling me the man can cheat me, and I'm telling you, I'm going to get the check from him before we go into closing.
Okay. Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question, right?
Yeah.
And this is something that we could continue after.
Yeah.
That's a way of cheating the government.
No, right? You're not cheating the government. You're making the bank pay for everything.
My brother, let me finish, please. Let me finish.
Yeah.
Because that is, in fact, a way of cheating the government on the interest and taxes paid, because both you have to pay an interest and the person who purchased the property has to pay taxes on it. So that additional money that person is collecting, he has to pay taxes on it. That's number one. And even if that person decided at a later time that he or she is not going to give you that money, you just said it's by law. If they write a check, when you go into court, the court is going to tell you that it was an illegal transaction, and the court cannot endorse what just took place. So you have no legs to stand on.
No, if you write you a check, the sheriff can lock him up. Once you write somebody a check in certain state, you cannot forfeit that check. You have to make that check go through. Trust me. Go back and research it and look at the law. You cannot write me a check, Brother Garcia, and make that check bounce. You can get into a lot of trouble for that.
Okay.
But it's just some tactics I'm showing you. But it's okay. It's okay.
Right.
Hello?
We just move forward.
Hello?
Yes. Go ahead, my sister. Go ahead.
Can I just say something quickly?
Sure.
I heard you when you were asking the question. Sorry, I wasn't in a position to talk. But to this gentleman, I want to say, a lot of times we think we can outsmart the system. Any transaction, any real estate transaction, anything you do has to be on the HUD, has to be in writing, has to be signed to. Anything that is done by the parties outside of that pertaining to that transaction becomes illegal. And a lot of people don't realize that. And you hear about all these real estate schemes and people going to jail, and you're like, well, why did they go to jail? You know, two parties agreed on it. No. You cannot defraud the government.
Yes.
If it is done outside the legal transaction, it is not on the HUD, it is not recorded, it becomes illegal.
Yes.
And even if you say you're in a state where the person writes you the check and it bounced, they can go to jail. No, they won't go to jail because the judge is not going to condone an illegal activity.
And what they're going to look at, it's going to go right back to the original transaction in acquiring this property, and you have to present your case in court. How did the transaction come about? So it goes right back to what my sister said.
And Mar, I agree with what you're saying here. Don't know where Bonds is going with that. However, we need to be consistent as it comes on to not cheating the system throughout this presentation, though. That's all I wanted to say. Just piggyback from beginning. We need to be consistent with not cheating the system.
Or Christian principles, it should not be entertained here.
Exactly.
Amen. Now, and thank you, Sonia. This is someone who is a professional accountant by trade. Sonia, thank you for being here. 401k. Actually, investments, I think we've covered in building wealth. 401k. I'm not sure again, and I'll ask the question, how many of us are here who has a 401k plan? Right? If you work for a major company, you should have a 401k plan. And I'm going to encourage and suggest to you, oftentimes within the 401k, folks just leave it and let it sit. Whatever the company does with it, that's what they accept, right? You have to manage even your 401k plan, guys. Call up the company and find out, look at it, visit it, because, and even right now we're in a pandemic, the stock market has been doing exceptionally well. It's been outperforming what the experts thought it would have been. And it's even going to get better, right? When we look at the S&P 500, the Russell 2000, the Magellan Fund, they have all outperformed what the expectation was, even in this pandemic. And so with your 401k, which I'm not going to be, get into specific because I know yours are different from mine because each companies are different. When you find out what it is, I remember when I was years back, I used to monitor this on a daily basis. And lately, I have been doing it also, and I've been screenshotting to see how it's been doing and the gains. But I had a book, and at the time, I was working in the HR, and I had to be at work at 4 a.m. in the morning. And on my way to work, I would listen to see how the market was doing over in Japan or China, overseas, because they are of a different time zone ahead of us. And so because I kind of know how it was happening or what it was doing there, I was able to just call up and make some changes. And I saw a growth where I was keeping a log each and every single day. I still do now, but I just screenshot it on my phone. But I'm just saying, if you want something, folks, you have to be the manager of it, of your life, of your finances. If not, no one else is going to have the same interest or take the same interest as you would. So with your 401k, some people are going to say, hey, I'm not going to be aggressive. I'm going to put it in the non-aggressive fund, right? And I remember I got a call from the outside agency and/or company who my company hires to manage our 401k. And I got a call from someone there, and the person is expressing to me, well, this is manager such and such, and I'm going to manage your account, and I would suggest that you put it in the non-aggressive fund. And I said, excuse me, sir, I'm going to be honest with you. I said, I'm well aware as to where I would like my money to be. Had I listened to that gentleman, it wouldn't be where it is today. And so eventually, the person, after talking with the person for a period of time, the person understood and saw that I kind of had a pretty good idea as to what I was talking about and what is it where I wanted it to be. And so, yes, you could do it yourself, and you could also have them do it. I remember asking the person to please put XYZ percentage in different funds, both domestic and international. And I'm going to tell you, international is doing well. Domestic is doing well. And yes, there are a few accounts that they have it in that was because, you want to diversify and you don't want to have everything in the aggressive. So I had something, in the not so aggressive, but those are not doing as well as the other ones. However, overall, it's doing well. But my point here to us is, you have a 401k, your company matches it or it doesn't match it. You need to take control of it and direct, whether you do it yourself or you direct someone. Listen, I'm telling you, the market right now, last summer, the S&P 500 was hovering around the 2,500 marker, right? There goes that number again, 2,500. And the expert at the time was saying the S&P 500 is doing well. As a matter of fact, I remember Warren Buffett saying that if 30 years ago, if folks had invested just $1,000 into the S&P 500, today there would have been millionaires just from $1,000. And this is when the S&P 500 was around 2,500. Go and check me, or you could do so now. The S&P 500 is hovering around 3,800 marker. I believe on Friday it went down, so it might be 3,700 and something. along that line. However, remember, this was last summer. It was around 2,500. Can you imagine your 401k being involved in the S&P 500, the gains that you've made? And remember earlier when I spoke to you about the wealth management or the wealth building account at the bank, this is part of the fund that has a direct impact with that money that you could watch on a daily basis. The Russell 2000, the Magellan, all these are tied in the S&P 500 and how it performed, and it has outperformed. I know earlier this week it was 3,802, but then on Friday, Thursday and Friday, both days it went down, where it's 3,742, somewhere in that ballpark. But it still has room to gain, and the experts are saying 2021, there will be a lot of gain. Folks, let's take advantage of the gains that's coming. Right? Let's not stand by the wayside and have others making, and we're looking on and we're saying, why couldn't that have been me? When I first bought the property, I played dominoes with these guys at church at night, and I invited only 10 of them. I said, let's come together. Let's put $10,000 together. None of them, even though some of them promised that they would, none of them came on board. It's 15 years later, and when they're seeing the rewards, they're saying, I should have. Guys, today is always the best time to get into real estate, even though the market for real estate is high. It's not a buyer's market. It's a seller's market. It's still a market that's going to continue to grow. And the longer we sit out on the outside and look in, the more expensive it's going to be when we decide we want to put our foot in it. And the longer it's going to take for you to enjoy and reap the benefit that you could have. Please don't stand by for too long, right? And the last thing I'm going to cover is life insurance. Actually, let me just go back for a second, right? And my brother brought up something about equity. Equity is something that we gain in our homes, in our houses that we own, either by capital gains or by paying down our mortgage. Capital gains comes by the neighbor next door. I bought my property 10 years ago for $250,000 as an example. I bought my property 10 years ago for $250,000. It's 10 years later, my next door neighbor comes and he sells his house, which is similar to mine in my neighborhood, for $1 million. It's not illegal. It's not impossible. It does happen, and it can happen, and it's legit. So guess what happened now to my property right next door or within that 5 miles radius that we spoke about earlier? The value of my property now goes up.
Rental. Mm-hmm.
To equal or more than what that person just sold his for. So if he sold his for $1 million, I could sell mine for $1,250,000. It's legit. It's okay. So then guess what I now have? I have capital gain, which is now becomes equity. So a couple of things. I could now use that equity to my advantage, right? I could now take out, because remember, I bought it 10 years ago for $200,000. It's now, the house next door sold for $1 million. So what? I gain $800,000. And guess what? I'm going to have it appraised and assess for even, let's say, $1.2 million. How much do I have now? I have an equal $1 million worth of equity. I could in turn refinance or take out what's called a home equity line of credit, or if I am 72 years or older, I could do what's called a reverse mortgage. Is it 72, Sonia, or is it 82? One of those two numbers, and do what's called a reverse mortgage. What a reverse mortgage is, this is something that you take out the equity in your house, and guess what? You're not paying it back until you're deceased. Guys, there's a lot of programs out there that we could utilize if we're within these age brackets, but we're not taking advantage of these things. Why? We don't know. So the information is here and is being shared. That reverse mortgage that you take out, let's say $800,000, you could reinvest that money and make that money make money for you.
Actually, it's 62.
Thank you so much, my sister. 62 years old. Thank you.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people are afraid of reverse mortgage because there is a misconception out there that it's a trick. And, you know, you're not going to get any money and they're going to steal your house. And, you know, there's a lot of misconception about the reverse mortgage. So a lot of people don't take advantage of it.
Which is what I'm going to talk about. It's not a way for the bank to steal your money, folks. It's an exceptionally good way for, guess what, for you to live rent-free, mortgage-free while you enjoy that money. And again, as my sister said, 62, you can live until you're 100 years old. However, you're not paying that money until when you're deceased. When you're deceased, whoever you leave that house to your kids, or if the house is sold, that's the time when payments are going to now be required. So, for example, I'm 62.
Campbell?
Yes.
This is your cousin. One of the things that you know,
Garcia, this is your friend.
Right. So both Temperance and I are together. But one thing I just want to point out is you brought up a very interesting point about the reverse mortgage. And I think it kind of goes back to a lot of the stuff that you're talking about. And I just want to address that little point of what is a lot of people are used to, like passbook savings and safe savings. And so one of the things that people have to start learning to do, even at an old age, you say it's hard to bend the tree, but people have to kind of understand that they have to kind of like take a leap of faith and not just do Cooper stuff. And not just do like passbook savings in terms of investment, but try to extend their minds into what kind of investments are out there. So that's a major problem. It's not so much that people think that it's a trick, but more being afraid of making that type of investments. I always tell people, like even on my show, that you don't do savings account as a way to save money. Right? Because the bank makes money off your money, right? So that's a very good point, but people have to understand, I have to overcome my initial fear and what my grandparents used to do and what my parents used to do, because they're not changing the cycle, right? They're not changing the cycle, because if you do the same thing, you're going to get the same results. So, you know, I think that's important that people begin to understand that you're making some very good point, but how do you step out off stop being the stem of the tree that cannot be moved and begin to become the leaf or even the branch?
Lack of knowledge. So it's good that we're having this forum.
Yes.
Okay, excellent, my brother. And it goes right back to trust and having faith. Right? Remember what I said about playing dominoes with these gentlemen, and I said to them, but we don't trust one another. 10 of us had come together, put $10,000 a piece. That's 100 and what is it, right? 110,000 or 100,000? My math. But we don't trust each other. We don't have that faith. And so,
Campbell, I hate to interrupt you, but I want to say one thing about that. And people have to understand exactly what you're saying. We talk about investment in groups. I would tell people, for example, if there's certain stocks to invest in, and they refuse to do it. And then when they start seeing the gains, like you're saying, I wish I did, I should have, I could have, and I didn't, and lose out. I think that you know what? The person who said it before, I think you need to revisit that conversation, that people need to stop about the whatever that expression is.
If I coulda, shoulda.
If I coulda, shoulda. I think that's such a good point. Such a good point.
Thank you.
Can I just, sorry.
Yes.
So I just want to add to that. That's very, very important. Thank you. You know, it reminds me of the parable of the talents. You know, the one who had the least, he hid because he was afraid. He was afraid that he would, if he used it, he would lose it basically. His master would take it from him. The others, they invested and it grew, but this one, he was afraid. And I was teaching my son this, that it's actually fear that keeps us from taking those leaps of faith. You know, investing. What if I lose? What if it doesn't work? You will never know unless you try. And the best thing, you know, failure, I believe, is not trying, because you just don't know. It's not trying and it doesn't work. Something will work if you work, but it's fear, you know, thinking that we don't have. You know, and I also mentioned that it's not so much what you have that makes a difference. It's your mindset. It's what you do with what you have, you know, how you view it. So.
Amen, my sister. And I'm going to say, it's not when you try something and it doesn't work, it's not that you failed. You learned from it. You learned what's not to do. And then you go back and you try it another way, and then it may work, right? Here's another topic or thing I wanted to talk about is life insurance, right? And I'm going to stop at life insurance. I wanted to do or talk about wills that we could do maybe at a later date, but it's not many of us, and a lot of us are from the Caribbean. A lot of us are from the Caribbean. We don't believe in having a life insurance policy so that we're going to leave something behind for our grandkids, our kids, and to take care of my funeral arrangement. I remember having one of these workshops in person, and I remember someone said, I am not leaving any money for my kids them. So if they're going to wait for me to die, then it's not going to happen. I'm telling you, there are folks, other races who have life insurance and leave it even for the church. And so there's so many other churches who are, I'm not going to say rich, wealthy, Pastor Wright, because of the mindset that we have and the mindset that we ourselves need to get into. A life insurance policy can also be an additional saving, right? You have some policy, and again, I'm not an expert. I had to reach out to someone who was to be here. He was supposed to send me some information, and I didn't get it by the time that we started. However, there's some policies that you have that you pay into it, and as you pay into it, at some point it matures, and that money goes to you, that you're allowed to take that money out and use it.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Can I say something?
Yes.
I just wanted to chip in here that Gerber Life that we get in the mail every time you have a baby, you get that in the junk mail. That was started, that's Jewish, and that was started because they wanted to make a way for Jews who were not wealthy and who could not afford to leave a lot of money. Because Jews believe that every baby that is born, as soon as that baby is born, they take out a life insurance on that baby. I know it sounds bad, but that's what they do. When every baby that comes into that family has to have a financial worth. I mean, that's the only way I can find to put it, right? And that's not a bad thing. So they created Gerber Life. A lot of people think, you know, that Gerber Life is no good, So what Gerber Life does is you pay this small amount of money every month or every week, whatever it is. And when that child matures, reaches, I think is 18 or 21, I'm not sure what the age limit is, they get that money. So they have some money right there to go off to college or to trade school
18.
or to buy a house. It's 18?
Yeah.
Did someone say 18? Right. And a lot of times we don't think like that because we're afraid of life insurance. We think life insurance means that everybody, they're going to want me to die and they're going to benefit. That's a selfish way of thinking. It's very selfish to think that way because you can have a life insurance, you can leave it for your church can, the endowment, you can leave it in an endowment fund. You can do so much with a life insurance. And Gerber Life is where you can start because Gerber Life for your children is so inexpensive. Everybody gets it in the junk mail, but
Our
most people don't
grandchildren.
pay attention to it. Or your grandchildren. Yes.
Because I have it for mine.
I just wanted to say that about because a lot of people, you know, those Jews are very savvy when it comes to stuff like that, and they decided that this is how we're gonna start Gerber Life for those who are not able. It was actually started for their people, not for the general population, you know, and they take advantage of it. So when their children turn 18, they have some money to get.
They have a start.
Yeah, they have a start.
When they're going off to college, they have a start. They're not, listen, I'm still paying my student loan. Right?
Actually, on the Gerber Life, they give you a percentage on what you put in.
Correct. I still have a student loan that I'm paying back. Even years later, I still have $30,000 left to pay off. But when they start going to college, they already have their money secured in their life insurance policy. I want to go back on a couple of things, right? Your 401k, remember earlier I was talking about the 1031 exchange and how you could capitalize on the government's money and it's not illegal, it's not defrauding the government. This is laws that Congress passed that's there for people who are in that bracket. Your 401k are also similar to that, where you don't have to wait until you reach 65 for you to take money out of your 401k. You could take your 401k, all of it today, and you don't have to pay taxes on it. And I know you're going to say, no, Garcia, that's not possible. Yes, I'm telling you, it is possible. Here's how you could take your 401k and utilize it to either start a business
or buy a property.
Well, it would allow you to borrow loans. Okay, borrow loan from it, right? If you have your 401k, you could use it you could borrow from it to buy a property, pay a medical bill, pay your rent if you're behind in rent or you're being evicted, or pay medical bills. This way, I'm telling you, you could take it out entirely without paying taxes on it. Here's how you're going to do that, or how it can be done. Again, there are companies and agencies that are out there that the government recognize that you have to go through. And just like the 1031 exchange, when you use one of those companies, yes, you have to pay a fee. But what you stand to gain compared to what you're paying, it's a no-brainer. Same thing here with your 401k. If you decide today, my cousin Roderick, you haven't reached the age you want to take it out to use it towards something else, all you have to do is to open up a company, open up a business, open up an LLC. And what it does, you transfer the money that you have in there into stocks, into your business. Once you transfer it into your business, you then make it liquid. And once you make it liquid, it's in your business, you're not paying taxes on it. You can start writing checks, writing yourself checks from your business. And the government recognizes that as an entity that you don't have to pay taxes on it. Alarming, shocking. There's a lot of things out there, a lot of ways that we could change our lifestyle. Within the Black community, we have so much equity in our homes, in our houses, but we are timid, we are afraid, we just want to pay it off, and according to us, we just want to live. Guess what? When you're dead and gone, your kids, your picnic, them are going to sell it, and they're going to make all that money, and your work broke your back and worked tirelessly, and you're not going to enjoy any of it. And I'm trying to read some of the comments that are coming in, right? So folks, we could have another dialogue. I'm going to open up the floor now for questions, which we promised that we were going to do so.
Okay. Question. Mr. Garcia.
Yes. Who is this?
This is Ms. Bryan.
Okay, thank you. Just identify yourself and your names and then go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yes. So you have a house now and you're selling it for $1 million. And your gain is 150,000. And I am going to buy it from you. And you have to pay a capital gain of 150,000. Why couldn't you sell me the house less the 150 and you not paying the capital gain? Why sell it for $1 million?
Okay, that's a good question. And that is something that can be done. Once there is no capital gain, then you're not paying any taxes on it. However, there are, and listen, there are others who are doing it, right? So yes, I'm going to go ahead and give you an idea as to how to go around that.
Right.
Right? You're selling a house for $1 million.
Right.
And if 150,000 of that you were going to pay a capital gain on, yes, you could sell the property at equal where you're not paying anything. However, and again, I shouldn't say this, but you can work out and agree.
Don't say it. Don't say it.
No. You
Don't say it.
I know that.
I don't want my cousin to say something that he shouldn't say. So I'm gonna stop him in the middle.
No,
that is illegal.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
But
the answer to your question is this. It's very simple. The amount of money that you're going to gain outweighs the taxes that you're going to pay.
Mm-hmm.
So therefore, at the end of the day, you have to make a decision about what your loss and gain will be.
Right.
Okay. And the one thing I want to make sure so that my cousin doesn't get in trouble, when you're doing investment, it is your decision. You have the final say in your investment. Okay. And so you always seek financial advice before you do something, and don't rush, and take multiple avenues to that same. This is Roderick Daly again, right? You take multiple avenues to what it is that you want to do. But you have to remember, if you have equity in your house, you're making money off the equity. So sometimes you want to get advice. I'm sorry, Campbell. I wanted to make sure that you don't say something publicly that shouldn't be said.
Yes, I understand what you're saying. But the first house that I bought when I came into this country, when the lawyer worked it out, he went back to the seller. The person, as a matter of fact, the person was Jewish. And he said, this poor girl doesn't have a dime, and you're going to make X amount of capital gain. Why don't you sell her for less?
Okay. What that is called, that's called in the banking world, is called a seller concession.
Okay.
Right? It's called a seller concession. It's not always the most ethical thing to do. But yes, as you mentioned, the Jews, and they know ways around certain things, and they, but again, we want to be careful with that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. We leave it there.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Did you just say seller concession is not ethical?
Okay.
I mean, I ask for seller's concession on all my contracts.
No. Okay,
So
hear me
I'm
for a
surprised
second.
to hear you.
Let me just correct that. It can be a seller concession is legal, is ethical. However, it can be used in a way that it becomes where it's not. In that case that was just described.
I don't know if I would say that, just so that people don't get the wrong impression, because if you're buying a house and the seller's agent and the buyer's agent come together and say, okay, this is what you're gonna pay. Can you sell my client the house for this less? There's nothing unethical about that. The only problem I would have is if you're selling your house on the market value, it's going to affect the other houses in the neighborhood. That's the problem I would probably have in that situation. But to give a seller's concession to benefit both persons, I don't see it as being shady.
Okay, can I explain then go another step further? Right, my sister? Okay, so you're doing the concession, right? But yet you as the seller are still saying, listen, I want my money. So behind closed doors, you're saying, okay, then the house is for this amount, we're selling it for this amount, but I want you to pay me off the books this amount, which is the difference. And it happens. It happens all the time. So that's the part of it where I'm saying it's not ethical, because there's a fraud there.
No,
so I'm not going to go any further into it. So,
Campbell, could I I'm sorry. To the person who's asking the question, Garcia is trying to be very careful with the answer. What we say to you all the time is that it is your decision. It's not about the seller's concession or the buyer's concession, whatever the case is. There's certain things that are not, some people don't feel comfortable with certain things. If you feel comfortable and it has been working for you, you probably have the same broker, the same this, or whatever the case is, or it's a family that you're buying it from or not buying it from, right? It is everything that you do. Some people sell their house beyond the market value, but the bank will not give you a certain amount of money. So you're gonna have to add the money because you really want the property, but you're overpaying for the property. And I remember Garcia stated somebody sold the property for $1 million. If you buy it for $1 million, it's just changed the average income, the average cost of the house that is on your block. So it's what makes, just like your investment, right? It's what makes you feel, remember, the ultimate decision is yours. What you feel comfortable with is going to be yourself. I might be interested in investing $25,000 on the property because I really want it. I remember many years ago, I used to be with Governor Pataki, and I was in that network. And I knew that they were building the Barclays Center, and the prices at the brownstones downtown Brooklyn were going to skyrocket. So I was more than willing to say I would spend an extra $50,000 on a property, because now if you look at those same properties are 300,000, 350,000, they're now worth 2.5 million, 2.7 million. So sometimes if you have a conversation, or sometimes people just need to sell their house and get rid of the house.
Even that is at a discussion.
Right.
Insider trading.
Right. You understand what I'm saying? So it really is, and I don't, and what Campbell's trying to do, and I have to defend him with this, is that he wants to make sure that you do something that's comfortable, and that you have to know that there are legal ramifications at times when you're doing something.
You speak to a wide audience.
Right. And some, just speak to him off the air, and maybe, you can get a different response. But the legal response is you have to do what is you're more comfortable with.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Yeah, my question is really quick, actually. As you know, we live in London, but we're looking to move outside of the UK. When it comes to buying from another country, buying a house in another country, let's say Canada, for example, what advice would you give concerning that? We've never bought property before, and we live in an apartment, and we want to make that move. So we're just weighing everything up.
I know I myself, I have looked in other countries as well to buy properties. As a matter of fact, there was a property I was going to buy in Turks and Caicos. And I have visited there and saw the property. However, at some point, communication breakdown. I know the Virgin Islands, Panama, are also other good places that you can invest into properties. However, it's being that were you looking to move there or to that country?
Move, actually
Okay.
to move, yeah. But I do want to make an investment, like you're saying. I don't just want to live in a place. I actually want to make money as well.
You should seek the advice of a local broker.
Sorry.
The bank is going to look at a couple of things, that you're not from that country, you're from another country. However, if you could prove to them that your income is of such, because remember, at the end of the day, it all boils down to your loan to value ratio. So if your income support the amount of money that you're looking to buy, which is your spending power, and then most of the time, I don't see that as being an issue. They would ask you, because you're a little more risky, to maybe put something more down. They may charge you a higher interest rate. But again, this is something that goes on or happens just about every single day.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other question? What about starting up a business? Any other questions?
Based on the question that she had asked, what if you like rent an apartment and live like in that particular area for like a 6 months period of time, like to build some time in the you live there? Wouldn't that help?
Okay, and that's my wife, by the way. She's at work, so we're not seeing her picture. So in other words, she's suggesting to try to move there to establish residence in that area. However, there is no laws against, if you could afford it financially, there's no laws against you living in another country and buying a property somewhere else. However, what they're going to mandate, right? If it's an investment property, what they're going to mandate, and you have to have a signed contract with a property manager before the acquisition goes through. Because again, you're in another country. So who is going to be the caretaker of this entity or this property? So for the most part, you have the money, the income is there, and it's another income producing property you're looking to buy. The only thing is, will you have a property manager in place? And they will make sure that one is in place before that transaction is closed.
Right, right. Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you.
You're welcome. Rochelle, anyone else out there? I know Romaine, no questions from you guys?
Yeah. Can I say something quickly about that? Buying while overseas or just living in the US? Because I just had a situation like that 2 years ago. And it's usually the banks are looking for, if it's not investment, if it's your personal residence, the bank is going to be looking for 2 years. If you're overseas, because my client lives in France and she's still in France, and it's going to be a personal residence because she's getting ready to retire soon. It's hard to find a lender who will do that, but there are 1 or 2 lenders who will lend to someone overseas, because if you're here for less than 2 years, that's how they're looking at it. You're riskier. It has to be conventional. It's 10 to 20% down, you know, and yeah, it's a riskier, it's a greater risk that the bank is taking on. So you don't have a lot of banks that is willing to do that, but you can sometimes find a bank that will do that. Usually the interest rate is a little higher. Even no matter how good your credit is, the interest rate is gonna be a little higher.
Yes, it will be. Even if your credit score is 850. But listen, I'm going to say this, right? For all the adults that are on this call, teach your children from a young age. They're not too young to learn about money management.
Amen.
Not too young. And again, I mentioned to you guys the last time that we were here when I did the testimony that my mother she's not able to read or write. And I'm not ashamed of that because she came here and she was an inspiration to me. And the first property she bought close to downtown Brooklyn was a four family. She worked hard, that she knows. But for the mere fact that she wasn't able to read or write from a young, tender age, I started doing her business and she trusted me with money or everything else. And so I learned to respect money. I learned responsibility from a young age. Don't take it for granted. Teach your kids now because that's when you're going to get their attention. Listen, in Jamaica, there's a saying that you cannot bend a tree while it's grown. You got to bend that tree
when it's young.
Way up, when it's young.
Sure.
Right? And by doing that, that child, listen, today, every second, every hour, my mind is focusing on what can I do to get better? What else can I do to improve? What else can I do to gain as a result of that, what I saw and what was taught? Because my mother engraved these things, or I'm sorry, it was an advantage for me because as a result, it was forced upon me and I had no other choice but to learn. The Chinese, when their kids, when the mother is conceived in the womb, they start telling that child, you're going to be a doctor. The child is born, they're telling that child, you're going to be a doctor. That child eventually believes and grows up and becomes a doctor.
The Jews too.
And the Jew, we don't do enough of these things, right? And then our kids are out there running about and getting themselves into trouble. And then we are running to their defense or risking our lives to their defense. In turn, when these are the things that can be corrected from the moment that child was conceived with the mother. Too many broken homes. Let's, the ones that we have within our power, try to see how well and we can curve and encourage to leave a legacy, one that God will be proud of. So with that said, if there's no more question, I'm going to ask that Pastor would come back in. And we, again, just like everything that we do, we make God first and we make him last in our lives. So if there's no more questions and no more concerns or comments, if Pastor would come in.
Just very quick. Do you do these like workshops regularly, like obviously for a price? Do you do workshops? Do you do, I don't know, whatever, however you produce the information? Do you make that available to the public? And you know, how much?
This is an RPT thing here.
Sorry.
No.
I know, but I love this program, and I know it's worth a lot, and I'm willing to pay whatever I have to pay because I really want to learn more. I really would love to learn more practically.
In the past, my sister, this is something that I used to do. To be honest with you, I haven't done it in years, but I've oftentimes prayed to God that there's certain things I wanted to do in certain place I wanted to be in my life. And I pray to God and ask him to take care of those things. And once those things are taken care of, that I would get back into doing this, right? So I did one about maybe 4 years ago. I did another one shortly after that, but I haven't done it in years. And so, believe it or not, my work schedule is very hectic. And it wasn't until this morning I got up at 7 o'clock and it took me 4 hours just to put this presentation here together this morning. And so it's something that moving forward, as I told my wife, that is something that I'm going to look to do more often. So yes, we could have that dialogue in terms of something like this taking place another time.
Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Well, I mean, people don't recognize how wonderful it is to be aligned with RPT. They don't get it, Garcia.
We do.
They don't understand that these things don't come to every church. It's just when you have a good friend and he tries to help us out, he's helping us out, and I appreciate that. And we're gonna do more programs. We're not done yet. We just got started. We just got started. But you know what would be really nice is if each member, each person who is on today, naturally, organically, can I use the word organically, learns. There's a problem that we have, Garcia, in our church, especially the Seventh-day Adventist Church. We don't want to give anything financially.
Yes.
We want to just get. You go to some other churches, and I'm not trying to make other churches feel good now, and if you can't even sing, and you say you have a CD, they pay for the CD, and they have a big launching, and they make thousands of dollars, and they can't sing.
Sure.
Right? And they cut a CD, they do a CD, and they make a lot of money. And with the Adventists, we tend to be, well, we have great taste, I agree, but it doesn't mean that you can't help rescue the perishing and care for the dying. So what I'm saying, we need to get into into that attitude where, like a program like this, I should have my treasurer call me and say, well, Pastor, do you believe we got $1,000 this evening? People just gave to the, you know, under normal circumstances, if I go check now, I don't know if we get $100. I'm serious, because of our mentality. We need to change that mentality. We want everything free, but we don't want to pay for it. We just don't want to pay for anything.
Pastor, I just want to chime in for a second, right? Because there's a lot of comments coming in, and folks are expressing their thanks for the program. Thank you so much, and thank you for coming. And others are asking questions in terms of, can this be done again on also on purchasing of properties? And I'm going to say yes. In terms of the purchasing of properties, we could even go a little more in depth because again, remember, location is important, and that can be done. So
yeah.
I guess, Pastor, we would have to do another.
Yeah, we're going to do multiple programs. So, Brother Campbell and I, we're in this. I mean, we're not letting go of each other. We're going to work together, and we have some good people on this. Sister Leonie, who came on, David. They're entrepreneurs themselves. Don't let them fool you. They know a lot about buildings and purchasing buildings. Leonie, I'm exposing you. I know you. So
listen, I also want to extend, Pastor. I can't leave without extending. The right now, with more to be done, like insurance policy. Okay, I see your message there, Pastor. I don't want to leave without extending the opportunity for folks who are interested in forming a partnership. Right. That again, I am open and are interested in folks who are looking to say, hey, I have 100,000 or I have 50,000. What can we do? Will you work with me, and can I come on board with you? Because that's also available.
Okay, so all right, and even those who have $50. I mean, anyway, yes. So I'm just messing with you, but anyway, we thank you so much for what you've done today. I'll give you the final word in a minute. I just want to invite everybody to please start getting this new attitude of giving to the church, and so that we can do more programs like this. We have another program hopefully coming up with a young lady who we met this morning, Garcia, who is one of those who is instrumental with George Floyd. We met her this morning. The pastor preached, and his daughter-in-law is one of those influential persons when it comes to civil rights and all of that. Big thing. And she's going to come and do a program for us maybe in February. So we're getting a lot of connection, big connections, and we're going to keep it going like that. But we're going to ask you, we have to pay bills. And we're going to ask you to try your best. Put in a $500, $1,000, $100, $50, and just go to rptworship.com and go to was it online giving, and go to donate and put whatever you have. All right, enough of that. I won't talk about money anymore. I will see what you did and I'll tell you how good you were next week. All right. Remember, Black History is next month, so we look forward to that. We want to thank Garcia Campbell for his very professional approach to the program. I see that you have, I'm going to ask you, Garcia, is Barnes the same guy who plays dominoes in North Bronx?
Yes, it is.
Oh,
Yes, it
my
is.
goodness. Man, I got to call the police on him. Barnes, where is he? He left? Oh, my goodness. He's an aggressive player. I know that. He taught me a few things, but I didn't know he was so aggressive. I don't want him to put you in jail, okay? I'm just teasing you. Where is he? He's gone?
I'm not seeing him. I think he's gone.
Okay.
He's probably on his way to the board meeting.
Okay, I know. All right. Say hi to him for me. But yeah, but tell him when he comes next time, he has to behave and he has to ask me permission before he can speak. He has to speak to me first before he can speak. All right. And I see your attorney was there. Is it Roderick? What's his name? Roderick?
Roderick Rudy Daly, yes.
Yeah, he's good.
He actually was at one point he ran for office to be the assemblyman for Brooklyn.
Okay, don't give up. Tell him don't give up.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's fighting another battle now for his life. So and he's winning. So we want to continue, Pastor, to keep him in prayers, please.
Yeah, we will. All right. Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll work on that. All right. So I think we're done. Any other observations? Anybody else had any quick observation? We're going to close off now.
Pastor, I was just
Yes, good.
maybe we need
Yeah,
to
all
do
right, I'll
some
take
more.
the lady first and then afterwards. Make it short. Go ahead.
Yeah, just say maybe we need to do some more prosperity preaching so that the people can realize how blessed they are and that they need to give more and get more blessing.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. That's noted. Who else? There's a gentleman who wanted to speak. Go ahead, sir.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Well done, Garcia Campbell. Excellent. One thing I'd like to just add to that, when thinking about doing it for the future, let's also incorporate a lot of the youngsters in it, because the more we pull them to this, it would show them what we are about, their parents, the adults, how we are now shifting our way of thinking. It's already shifted, but now that we're going to put them into it, we want them to see what we're actually doing.
Amen.
Right. Okay. And you talk about the young people. A young person just texted me privately and they just put $30 in for the church. Isn't that beautiful? A young lady. All right.
God be the
just
glory.
Sent $30. That's an example of what you can do. Young people are involved. Ajia, did you send me a note? I just want to make sure.
Yeah. Shall lead them.
Yes. Yeah. Just 1 second. What? Yeah. How can we contact you? Who? All right. Who are you talking about, Ajia? You mean Garcia? Okay. I guess Garcia, she's asking how they can contact you.
She said yes.
Right.
Okay.
If they can't find you, they find me, they'll find you. So go ahead, Garcia. You want to put something there?
Yes, I could leave my phone number. That's fine.
Okay.
So just let me know when you guys are ready. I hope you still have your pencil and your notepads. It's 917 674 1269. That number once more, 917 674 1269.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. All right. So, all right. Thank you, Ajia. You're so wonderful. I thought you went to sleep. All right. So you're still up. All right. All right. So yes, one of our young persons about between 18 and 22, won't give it away, just said, they said $40, not $30, $40 for the church. So let's all send something. Everybody just get busy right now. Let me be proud of you. I'll be proud either way, but I want to see what we're all, going to do about this. Talk is cheap. Let's all do this. And we're going to have this program shortly. I'll speak to Garcia. We'll see when our next program will be. But I thought it was beautiful. It was well executed. It was everything was wonderful. And we thank God for that. Let us close off our program here. Let's see who we got there. I wanted to ask somebody to pray. Let me go.
Pastor, can I pick on someone? Can I ask someone?
Yes, go right ahead. Yeah, you're the boss.
Brother Louis, Brother Newton, Pastor, excellent singer. You need to invite him to come and sing one day. Brother Newton, Minister Newton, please, can you close us off in prayer?
Absolutely. Blessings to everyone. Thank you for fantastic workshop. Caught the ending part of it, but glory to God. I'll just close this off in prayer. As we pray, Heavenly Father, we thank you for all good gifts above we know come from you. We thank you for all the officiators today. And we pray that you will bless each and everything that we've discussed, what we plan. We pray that you will continually keep the leaders and the ministers, dear God, under your divine protection, your anointing, dear God, and your love for your people, dear God. We just honor you today and ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Thank you, my brother. Good seeing you. Love you, my brother.
Yes. Okay. We'll talk, Doc.
Okay, Pastor. Thank you, everyone.
Say hi to the wife. She's hearing. Say hi to the wife. I'm sure she's hearing. So, all right. That's our buddy.
Hi, Pastor Ernie. I'm hearing.
Yes. I know. What a wife. You're amazing. And we appreciate you quite a bit. Thanks for loaning your husband to us for a little bit. All right.
Anytime.
All right.
Okay.
I'm going to leave the gallery. I'm going to put it on gallery view. I hope we can stop streaming now. And then those of you who want to say hi to each other, go right ahead. But we're finished for the evening. And while you're at it, just say hi to each other if you want. And then bedtime for those in England in a short minute. They should be in bed shortly. All right. Thanks so much.
Bye.